Hey guys, and welcome to our introduction on the cardiovascular system. In this chapter, we're going to be covering the heart and what it does, what the cardiovascular system is as a whole. And we think of the heart as being the main organ, but there's so much more. There's arteries, there's veins, there's capillaries, and it also includes the blood, which we actually talked about in our last section. And if you guys read the article that I had for you yesterday, that kind of gave you a little bit of an introduction to the cardiovascular system in a way that shows you how complicated it is and how complex it is. It's an article that I remember when it first came out, and I just thought it was so amazing the fact that they had made this artificial heart that could literally fit, in your chest cavity where the heart does belong. Because up to that point, there had been hearts like, if you read through the article, it talked about, I believe it was Jarvik's 7 or something like that. And it was like this artificial heart that what it did was basically the person would have to sit in a room all the time with this artificial heart. And yeah, there was like a version that they could carry, but it only worked for like 3 hours, and then you had to go back to the 350-pound system that you would roll around in your house. So it wasn't something that was beneficial. And what this new heart showed was the fact that it can be done. However, they had to move away from the way our heart actually works. In other words, the biological way, where our heart works like a pump. In this way, they had to make it more so like a little propeller system. It was still pumping the blood, but it was more like a steady flow instead of this la bump or bump bump, that we think of with our heartbeat. And that was another interesting thing I thought about in the article, was the fact that there was no heartbeat to the patient, that this person all of a sudden was without a pulse, which is one way that we classify whether or not somebody is technically living. And so it just goes to show that you don't need a pulse per se. But again, it just kind of goes to show how amazing our heart really is. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So without further ado, the cardiovascular system. So our cardiovascular system is what we call a closed cardiovascular system. Now, there's not a spot for it in your notes, but right beside closed system, I want you to go ahead and write what that means. And what this means is that our blood doesn't mix with other stuff in our body. That's not the scientific definition, that's the Mr.Eversole definition. But what that means is our blood isn't going to be mixing with the water that's in our abdominal cavity or the fluid that's there. It's not going to be seeping into our cranial fluid. Our blood stays within our arteries and our veins and our heart. It doesn't go anywhere else. That's why it's called a closed system. And again, this has lots of benefits to it. One being the simple fact that it just stays consistent, and we can even find a better flow with certain things. We're not going to get things in our blood that we don't need there, and it also helps us regulate that blood, what's in the blood. If it was an open cardiovascular system where the blood was just kind of flowing and we had something like an insect has what's known as a open cardiovascular system where the blood is kind of the same fluid that's throughout. It's a lot harder to control what's in there. And we just talked all about that control with the endocrine system. So you can see why it's important that we have a closed system. Now, this closed system of blood needs a way to get all around the body. That's its job. The function is simply to deliver oxygen and nutrients to every single part of the body and to remove waste from all those parts of the body. Because again, going back all the way to basic biology, cell respiration, how our cells are doing the jobs that they need to. They're breaking down sugars, they're using the oxygen to do so, and in the byproduct they're making carbon dioxide, which is a poisonous gas to us. So we need a way to remove that. And in comes our blood. But our blood can't just sit there. It needs a way to be able to move throughout the body. And so our bodies are designed with this pump system in mind. Now, in the article, like I talked about, it said how they came up with this steady system that made it like a current, almost like a little pump in a fish tank you could think of. Whereas our hearts are kind of more like a mechanical pump that's kind of like pumps some in, then pushes some out, pumps some in, then pushes some out. And the amazing thing is just the fact that in the article it kind of talked about how the nature or the natural one wasn't that good. But then it made the distinction of saying, well, at least for humans to try and copy. And that's just, again, the other fascinating thing about the heart is the fact that it's doing this pumping constantly 24/7 for however many years that we live non-stop. And so it's this amazing piece of biology, and we're going to look a little bit deeper at it today. So where are you going to find the heart? Well, a lot of you guys would say to your left side, and I remember when we did our body bags at the very beginning of the year, that's where a lot of you guys put your heart, was to the left. And we always say to point to or put your hand over your left side because we say that's where your heart is at. But really your heart is kind of right in the middle in that thoracic cavity there. Now, yes, there is going to be a point that's kind of pointing down towards the left. That's what we call the apex. And so that's why we kind of say that. But then the top portion, what's called the base, is pointing towards the right side. And we'll see what that looks like in just a little second here. So again, here is your heart. The apex, that's this pointy part right here, or the part that ends in somewhat of a point. And then the base is considered where all of our valves and arteries are meeting up here at the atriums here. That's the base, and that points towards the right side of the body. And so again, you can kind of see it is a little bit off towards the left if we're looking at the apex here, but for the most part, it stays pretty much centered in the body. Again, if you're looking at this picture, kind of put your hand in a fist, and that's about the size of your heart. It also weighs less than a pound. And so these are also things that those scientists had to take into consideration when they were producing and making these artificial hearts, was what type of pump could I put in a person that's not going to break down, that can fit in the size of my fist or smaller, and weighs relatively little. All right, those were things that they had to have, those complications. First artificial hearts were big, bulky, and heavy. And so, again, that's another reason that whole article was a breakthrough. So our heart itself, though, as it's pumping blood, it has these coverings over it to help protect it as it's doing that. This is a type of connective tissue. It connects the heart, kind of holds the heart in place, and also helps it do its job. And this covering is what's known as the pericardium. There are two main layers of this pericardium. There's what's known as the visceral pericardium. We're going to be referring to it mainly as the epicardium. It's like the external surface. That's the outer layer of it. And then there's the parietal pericardium, also known as the fibrous pericardium. And that's probably what we'll be considering that one mainly, is the fibrous pericardium or the serous pericardium. And in between these two layers, there's what's known as serous fluid. And this serous fluid kind of helps layer this like a cushion, and it protects the heart because of what the heart is doing. And so this fibrous pericardium, that it's considered like the outside sac, but this is the one that's closest to the heart. It's from this pericardium that this serous fluid is being produced and let out in between the other pericardium. In other words, this fluid here is extremely important because what it's doing is it's kind of making this protective barrier between the heart and the lungs and everything else around it. Here it says in our notes, the fluid allows the heart to beat easily in a relatively frictionless environment. So I had this little drawing here that I did that kind of helps demonstrate what's going on. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about, where it's like, uh, I know our heart doesn't look like that, but just imagine with me, bear with me. Uh, you have like your little heart, and all of a sudden you breathe in, your lungs basically push in on that heart. That heart can't beat, it can't do its job right, and that leads to stroke and other things. And so there needs to be some way that our heart can still function, where it's still pumping blood and the lungs can still do their job at the same time. And so we have this sac that's around the heart, this pericardium, uh, that's going to be basically filled with this fluid. And what that does is it allows this barrier where the lungs can still inflate and do their job, and the heart can still pump within that fluid. And again, it's saying frictionless. In other words, there's not going to be any abrasion on the heart. It can do this at its constant rate. And so that's why this pericardium is super important. All right, looking at the physical structure of the heart, we divide the heart tissue itself into 3 different layers: the epicardium, the myocardium, and the endocardium. Of these 3 layers, the myocardium, the middle layer, is actually the only one that's made out of cardiac muscle. And again, cardiac muscle, it's one of our 3 main muscle types. We have skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. And cardiac muscle, as its name implies, is only found within the heart. And it's this muscle tissue that's doing the contractions, that's doing the job of pumping blood through the heart. The epicardium that we have, it's just this connective tissue that's, again, part of that pericardium that we're talking about. That's that protective layer on the outside. And then on the inside, we have another type of connective tissue, this endocardium. And what this endocardium does is it really helps keep everything flowing nice and smoothly. In other words, it lays on top of this myocardium, and it makes this smooth surface to allow like this frictionless flow of blood through the heart, again, to help everything go streamlined. So this is just showing you another little diagram of the heart. We're going to start looking at these different parts of the heart and those chambers. So our heart is constantly pumping blood. You can kind of get a feel for it here. We're going to be talking about the physiology of it, how it actually pumps blood tomorrow. But for right now, we need to understand where it's pumping blood into and out of. And we divide the heart into 4 different chambers, or rooms, or cavities, however you would like to call them. And so these different chambers, we have 4 of them. We have 2 atria, atrium being plural, or I'm sorry, atrium being singular, atria being plural. And then we also have 2 ventricles. And so our atriums are those chambers that are found superior, in other words, those on top of the heart, and then those that are inferior are the ventricles. And another thing that you notice here, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more tomorrow as well, is the fact that all 4 of these chambers are separated from one another. In other words, there's this area known as the septum. You've probably heard the word septum before and thought that when you hear the word septum, you've probably thought of like a sinus cavity or something like that. And that's because we have a septum dividing the nasal passages, our right and left nasal passages. A septum is just like an area that divides 2 different areas. And so we have what's known as the enteroventricular or the interatrial septum. It's this entire section right here. And as our notes say, depending on which chamber it divides and separates, the whole thing is considered the septum. But if you're talking about it down here, where our ventricles are, hence the interventricular septum. If you're talking about it up here, where it divides the atriums, it's the atrial septum. Pretty self-explanatory. Alright, so the last thing we're going to be talking about today are the heart valves themselves, how the heart is pumping that blood in and out. And the way it does this is Again, we're going to be going into the more so how so tomorrow, but it's important to understand now that the blood is going to go into the atriums first, and then down into the ventricles, and then out, and we'll talk all about how that happens tomorrow. But for right now, it's important that we also note that, there has to be some way to stop blood from flowing in the wrong direction. And so that's why we have these little valves. And we have 4 of them that are helping us do this job. We have 2 atrioventricular valves, which are the ones between the atriums here. One of them going to be a bicuspid, which we see here, and the other being a tricuspid valve. And these are the ones that are going to allow blood in from the atriums into the ventricles. And then we have 2 semilunar valves, which are in between the ventricles and the arteries which they send blood to. So the pulmonary semilunar valve is what sends blood from the right ventricle out, and then we have the aortic semilunar valve, which is going to pump blood from our left ventricle out into the aorta. And tomorrow we will talk about our little valves, how they work, why I think of them as like little trapdoors, and that's about it. So, to recap what we talked about today, we talked about the valves of the heart. There's 4 different valves that are going to separate these chambers, those chambers being the right and left atriums and the right and left ventricles. Those chambers are going to be sending that blood to where it needs to go, which is the main job of our heart. It's to pump that blood. We also talked about how the heart is divided into 3 different layers. The heart's wall specifically is divided into those 3 different layers. And we talked about the covering around the heart that's going to protect it so it can keep doing its job, which again is simply to make the blood go where it needs to go. So if you got any questions, just let me know. Send me a message through Remind. And until then, I will talk to you later.